And you can see two very large drums in front of me, and I think that's little clues to what we're going to see in a moment.
We are prone to getting cockroaches over here. They live everywhere.
Unfortunately, we have a much bigger problem. It is a glorious afternoon, as you can see. It's not raining, which is makes a change. And you'll probably hear behind me any moment a guy doing a sound check, and that is because they've set up the big stage and they've got the seating out to welcome the Sail to Indonesia rally. And we have a couple of guests here today who Liz and I know very well, and that's Sazli from the Sail Malaysia rally and James of Pancor Marina. They've flown over to come and welcome these guys, I think most of whom have come over from Australia. We've met a couple of them already, and they've laid out this entertainment for the afternoon. So let's go and see what it's all about. Actually, before we start, I do need to introduce you to our new friend. Come here, come on. This is Tiger. And we've befriended her, or rather she's befriended us, and that's because we are suckers for dogs, of course. And she gets fed at least twice a day by us. So now she is following me around everywhere, and we've got another dog as well, Shy Dog, who we've managed to train to eat from our hands. And when we first met him, he wouldn't come within 10-20 metres of us, so we're making progress with him as well. Sadly, we won't be taking any of them with us, which is a shame, because this one's a real beauty. Aren't you, Tiger? So well behaved. So I'm at the front of the marina, and seated down right in front of me is about 30 or 40 band members. They're all dressed up in their various uniforms. So all the boys dressed up in blue and all the girls in black. And you can see two very large drums in front of me, and I think that's little clues to what we're going to see in a moment. I have to say, with a lot of these rallies in Asia, they really do put on quite a performance, and the Indonesian rally is well known for very well organised events for all the yachties. Pretty much in every town that they visit, I think the entire village comes out to say hello, which is very nice of them, isn't it?
The Gendang ballet dance and music performance is typical of the Sasak people of Lombok. Sasaks make up 85% of Lombok's population. They have their own language, and although predominantly Muslim today, Sasak animism and Hinduism predate Islam on the island and still influence its life and its culture. A Gendang ballet is a big drum, and after watching the performance, it's no wonder, as big drums are the central feature of the music. Processions may have up to 12 drummers, which are followed by a gong, a traditional flute called a suling, some hand-held kettle gongs, and cymbalists known as Gendang. Traditionally, the Gendang ballet dance is a ritual used to encourage Sasak warriors going into or returning from the battlefield. Stick fighting, known as peresean, is still taken seriously in some of the local villages. The aim is to crack the head of your opponent until he falls over or surrenders. A referee oversees and declares the winner. Of course, Medana Bay's demonstrations don't go that far, but the tourists were encouraged to give it a go all the same. If all that is a bit too much, there's the penarian joget, a gentle fan dance. Joget originated from the Portuguese in Malacca, but nowadays can mean many types of dance performed across Southeast Asia. Traditionally, a joget is danced by couples and represents different relationships between men and women. In Medana, it was just an excuse for the tourist to flirt with the pretty local women.
So as the sun settles on the northwest corner of Lombok, so ends another Indonesian rally. Well, at least the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning, whatever it is. Basically lots of dancing, lots of sticks and lots of food.
We saw many boats and 3 rallies come through Medana Bay in our time there, but we had to crack on with boaty stuff and update our visas, which is never straightforward.
Look at the size of that mosque. It's big, isn't it? Right, it's a very busy street and we are off to do our visa renewal. So in Indonesia, if you come in not by boat, then you just get a visa on arrival. You get given 30 days and you're allowed to extend it once for another 30 days. And ours runs out in 2 weeks' time, but since we've got the car doing a shop in Mt Rinjani, we thought we'd see if we can just put our passports in to be processed. Any thoughts, dear?
I'm full of hope, as always. Rather loving this very, very posh kind of boulevard here with all the big buildings on it and that extraordinarily huge mosque.
A quick update. It didn't work out, unfortunately. The complication is that I have to fly back to the UK, so all I'm doing is just renewing once, and then Liz has got to fly out and go to KL. Anyway, we have to show that we've got tickets for these return flights. I have mine, but Liz has yet to book hers. So it's a long old process because you have to submit your paperwork, then they issue an invoice which you then have to go to the post office to pay, then you return the next morning to get a photograph taken and your fingerprint done. This is all just to extend for another 30 days. So Liz is looking for flights, but we've just decided that it's too much of a rush to do it today, so we're going to have to come back and do this all again tomorrow.
And the day after,
and,
come back
and then the day after for the
That's
photos. Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Okay, just a quick update. We persevered and we went back to the office in the afternoon after lunch, and they did take our application, which is great. Normally they only take applications in the morning and then hand back your passport with your new visa in the afternoons. But there were a few Brits in there actually, a couple of young lads in sarongs in the same situation as us. So I think they took pity on us, and let's face it, the immigration in Indonesia normally are some of the friendliest immigration people you can find. So the guy took our stuff and yeah, so we've still got to come back 2 more times though.
Yeah, we've got to come back tomorrow.
Tell us.
We've got to come back tomorrow and have our mugshots taken for the extension to the visa. Did we have them when we arrived? Did we have mugshot? I don't remember doing.
No, it's probably done electronically.
Yeah, probably didn't realise. So yeah, we do that. But hey ho, at least it's 1 day less than we thought originally. And tomorrow we might use as a day to go and see stuff.
Yeah, I think it would be a good opportunity to do that. Kind of fed up with driving. By the way, around here is quite fraught with many people on scooters, and of course they have different rules of the road here. So you've really got to keep your wits about you. Right, so we're just going to do some provisioning now. It's not very interesting, but yeah, hopefully tomorrow we'll do something a bit more fun. Yeah. But then we do have to return next week after they've processed everything to then pick up our passports. So,
And so it goes.
Cut to day 2, and we are done for the morning. Having handed in our passport yesterday. This morning was the photo shoot. Did a little photo shoot, take your fingerprints. It's actually all very quick. It took, 10 minutes from going in there, so that's nice. So since we got the car for the day, we thought we'd go for a little drive. We're just deciding where to go, grab a coffee. I think I've said before, Indonesia is of course famous for coffee, and you can pretty much guarantee good coffee pretty much wherever you go. And the cappuccino we had yesterday was just superb. So we're going to eke out a coffee shop and then maybe go for a little drive. I don't know how much vlogging there's going to be done today, but we'll just go for a little cruise.
We've just left Mt Rinjani. Well, we're kind of on the outskirts of Mt Rinjani. It goes on a bit because it's the capital, like most capitals. There's lots of adding on bits. And we're heading very slowly in a traffic jam, the only road, towards Mt Rinjani. Jamie, what do you think so far of the traffic?
Oh dear. We've just had a truck overtake us and 2 other trucks in front of him. There's a whole long line of trucks. And he's basically just pushing everyone out the way. Scooters, oncoming traffic. And it is a typical example of how some of the people drive along here. Most people are pretty slow. But you get 1 or 2 idiots who are just... Well, I can't describe it. I mean, we've driven all over Southeast Asia. And I would say driving around Lombok is probably one of the most chaotic that we have done to date. Would you agree? It's just really hard work.
Yeah, I think I do agree because, well, a couple of things. There's a lot more bikes on the road here. Like anywhere where it's not quite so wealthy, there are always loads more motorbikes than there are cars. So we've got a mixture of extremely laden down, fast, angry truck drivers and people on bikes who don't seem to know the rules of the road, or they have a different set of rules of the road to us, so matter of getting used to it. Anyway, Jamie's driving, I'm glad to say, but he's getting a little bit impatient. He's just trying to keep calm.
It took a while to get out of Mataram's outskirts and towards the foothills. The roads didn't get any easier to navigate, but the views and the air improved.
So we've got out of Mataram. It was a bit hectic.
In 300 metres, turn left.
That's Google Maps telling us where we've got to turn left. So we've got a little bit higher, but we're still really on the plains. To get right up to the top of the mountain, or top of the volcano, I don't think we're going to manage that today because it's quite a long way. But yeah, beautiful. Already the air feels better.
Take the next left.
And it's very green.
This is one of a number of homestays at the, I suppose, the very foot of the volcano. You can't really drive much further north. At that point you're getting out and you're walking and you're camping. But just getting our bill for our lovely papaya juice we've had. But this is just one stop, so we're just going to check out a couple of these homestays. I have to say, after that extremely hectic drive, it's rather chilled up here. You're up in the mountains, obviously, surrounded by farmland and many villages. You can mainly hear cockerels and mosques, very typically Indonesian, of course. And after doing all that hectic driving, it's a perfect place just to hang out and just be at one with nature. I don't think there's actually anything particular to do here other than just absorb yourself in the mountainside and go for walks. We are aware that there are many monkeys on the island. We've seen lots of macaques. This is a new type of monkey though we've not seen before, and they talk. They're talking monkeys all the way up there. Well, just 1 minute up from the Skyview Cafe that we were just at is Sama Cottages. And this is set in amongst where you can see rice paddies here, the cock and crows. And this one gets very highly rated according to various sources.
Welcome to the jungle, it says. And it is lovely here because you've got the jungle all around, but you've also got the plains down there. Oh, I don't know, it's very, very pretty. You could definitely come here and relax for a few days. You just sit on your balcony overlooking the trees. I love it. It's very, very nice.
Our trip up into the foothills was only a short respite, as we had a number of jobs to be getting on with.
Well, before we left, I opened every cupboard. I sprayed lots of anti-mould spray everywhere, and it seems to have done the trick because there's very little mould. There is a little bit around some of the windows, but on the whole, not too much mould. So quite happy about that. Jamie's already been on board doing a few techie things, and I've just come on board now to clean up and tidy up before we go ahead and do more stuff inside the boat. She's a right mess, but I'll have a quick look around and show you what's going on. The other thing I always do when we go is spray and sprinkle as much anti-cockroach and anti-ant stuff as I can, because we are prone to getting cockroaches over here. They live everywhere. If you leave one little bit of something open, they'll get in, and even if you close everything, they still seem to get in. So I have this really terrifyingly deadly powder that I put down, and there isn't no sign of any insect anywhere. Wow, it's bright out here. The other thing you have to really worry about in all boatyards is rats, but we've got several things on our side here. We've got a lot of dogs, hungry dogs that chase anything that moves. So hopefully if there were any rats, they scared them off. But looking around the deck, there is no sign of any rat whatsoever. We know what to look for now because we've experienced it once before. And you normally see lots of droppings everywhere. And there's not a dropping in sight, but there is plenty of bird poo because this is an extremely bird-friendly place. I wouldn't be surprised if we haven't got some nesting here.
Oh, well, I thought I would do a quick jolly boat maintenance update, and just to fill you in on what the electricians have been doing, which is to replace those red strip lights both in the galley and the chart table area. The red strip lights had been fading and burning out, so they've put new strip lights in there, and the big one in the cabin as well. But unfortunately we have a much bigger problem, and that is a fuel leak. Noticed this when we were playing around with the engine, and I've just had a look, and we're now in the cabin looking at the connector from the fuel tank to the central pipe that feeds to the engine, and unfortunately the rubber collar that it passes through is completely disintegrating. So this is quite a big headache, because this was all fitted some years ago, and it's going to be difficult to get this, well, to put a new one on. But the bigger problem is actually getting to the fuel tank. So one thing I want to do is to drain the tanks and clean the tanks out. We have these inspection hatches which we have to reseal every time we use them. So we use a gasket sealant, and it's an absolute bastard to open. So that's what I'm struggling with at the moment. Yeah.
Did you notice how Jamie said he wants to clean the fuel tanks? Ha! Who do you think ended up cleaning them? Before I undertake the world's worst boat job, though, we had to empty the tanks of diesel using our little 12-volt pump.
So that's one tank drained, and well, actually it's both tanks because obviously they connect. So what we've done is we've managed to save most of the diesel. We've put that in a big 40-gallon drum, and that's filtered as we put it in. And then the last 10 litres or so, you can see there's a lot of diesel bug. That's all the gungy, sort of mossy, mouldy stuff that's growing. It looks like it should live under the sea, but it's very gelatinous, and that is diesel bug. We knew we'd have it because I was trying to work out when we last cleaned the tanks. It wasn't when we last hauled out. We didn't do it last time. So it's been a good 2 years or more, 4 years. 4 years since we cleaned the tanks, and normally we clean them every time we haul out. So not surprising there that there was quite a bit of growth, but this is one good reason why, when you can, you should always keep your tanks topped up, so that when the boat's moving around, you haven't got a whole load of slop disturbing all of that diesel bug at the bottom there. So now we're going to, well, it's over to Liz for the really shitty job of removing the remains of the stuff we can't suck up and cleaning it out.
Well, 6 hours later, and I feel as though I've hardly made a dent, but the place is looking a bit neater and it's definitely cleaner. But I'm only about 3/4 of the way through, finish it off tomorrow, and then go on to some other job.